Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum, TIF, and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is Philosophy, Law, and Innovation. We have with us Ajay Kumar, partner at Triumvir Law. His expertise in dispute resolution and corporate advisory to his groundbreaking work as a developer of SheSr POSHBot. Ajay's story is a testament to innovation and passion in the legal field. He's also an author, a philosophy enthusiast, and a staunch advocate for ethical lawyering. Join us as we delve into his multifaceted world, uncovering professional triumphs, personal hobbies, and so welcome Ajay to today's coffee conversation.
Good to be here, Lion.
Okay, let me explain you. There are three rounds. Two rounds are professional, personal, and there is a rapid fire fun round for which you have to be witty, funny, and quick. And your gift.
Oh, that's nice. Looking forward to reading that actually.
Okay, cool. So, friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and a legal tech evangelist, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal, startup SMEs with world class technology solutions, software licensing, and tech training. So, my first question for you, Ajay. You have transitioned from being a senior associate to a partner in a relatively short time. So, what made you, what are the key elements for being from a senior associate to being a partner? So, our viewers would like to know and get inspired from your journey.
All right. So look, I just want to be frank here before we start anything that what I'll be saying here are my thoughts, even though I'm a partner of a firm. These are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. One. Number two, as a senior associate, I used to do a lot of work and I used to enjoy that work. Because what happens in as a senior associate is at the end of the day, you're also responsible for the delivery. While it's the partner, the PA who will finally face it before the client. As far as the legal work is concerned, you're responsible for the delivery, right? And that is how I view rising in the hierarchy of a law firm, right? The more responsibility one is able to take and the more ownership one is able to take when it comes to delivery is what will finally push you. For me, for example, for the longest time, I didn't want to be a partner, right? Because what I would see is wherever I would work, right? Very rarely would the partners have the chance to do the first cut of a draft, deep dive themselves and research a problem, right? Come up with a strategy. What would essentially happen is they would take soundings from their senior associates, PAs, who would tell them this is what we think, this is what we think, and they would make decisions, right? But that for me, for the longest period of my life, was not what I really enjoyed about the legal practice, right? But what I decided one morning, and this was a personal decision that I took, is that I can only hide from responsibility for so long, right? That eventually, if I'm going to want to do the things I want to do and deliver what I want to deliver to my clients, to the public, to my friends, my family, and all of that, I've got to step up and take ownership. And that is when I decided to leave the firm I was working in Bombay and move into independent chamber practice here with a senior in Bangalore. And then I realized that in independent chamber practice, you, as an individual lawyer, while you get to do all the fun stuff, you don't really get to do the big ticket stuff, right? Because the client who wants the big ticket stuff comes to a team. So I was a PA for a bit, hoping that I would, make partnership there. It didn't work out, and it was good for me also because I didn't want to be a partner where I was working at that point. But then I met my friends that I knew from the college debate circuit when we used to debate in college, and they were friends of mine. One of them, the managing partner where I work right now, he's a buddy that I know for years because we used to work in the same bullpen in Arnav when we were there. And he has started this young firm which does interesting things, and which takes a whole new approach to how a firm is run, right? And I felt that that would be a great place for me. He felt that that would be a great place for me. The partners there felt that that would be a great place for me. And that's when I realized that when you're interviewing for a partner position, right, you're not really having an interview. You're having a conversation to see if all of you are on the same page. And it had to come a lot from me to say, I am ready to take responsibility. Like if there's a mandate and I'll take responsibility before the client, I'll take responsibility for my associates, I'll take responsibility for their growth and things like that, right? And that is what pushed me finally into a partnership. Because being a partner in the legal industry, right, a lot of people think it's a big deal. But honestly speaking, like even someone who graduates tomorrow can chill with their friend, sign a partnership deal, and put that tag partner on their book. Okay? In this legal profession, you have only two things by which you are defined. One is by your integrity, which is how your peers view you as a person and a professional, right? The second thing that defines you in the legal profession is the amount of people who are willing to trust you with their work. It's as simple as being a doctor, I feel. Like, good, the patients will come to you because they think you're an expert. You could be like the managing director of a hospital, right? And you would have no respect if no patient came to you. So our job is an interesting job where there is practice that is involved, but there is also a lot of management. There's also a lot of duty on some level, right? So if I have a kid who's working with me as a first year associate, right, whether I like it or not, I have a duty to make sure that person progresses. The happiest thing for me in my life has been to see some juniors that I have mentored over the years going on and starting their own practices, going on and doing well in their lives. And since I realized that's what makes me happy, I might as well take the responsibility and become partner. Right? There's no way around that. So that's how I would answer that question. I know it may not be what a lot of people would expect, but this is exactly how I answer that question.
Beautiful, beautiful. Uh, so, what's the meaning of your law firm, Triumvir Law?
So it comes from the Roman word triumvirate. So at one point in time, the Roman Empire was governed by a triumvirate of three emperors. So the initial founding partners were three partners. So they decided to take that word and make it triumvirate. At least that's what I understand the story to be. But I've never actually seen a document which says it. But it's a nice name. I like it because it reminds me of the Roman Empire. And most middle-aged people these days are obsessed with some Roman Empire or the other.
Wow. So, Ajay, you describe yourself as a legal all rounder. How has this approach benefited your clients and shaped your career?
Okay, so when I say I'm a legal all-rounder, I would like to make it clear it's not by choice. Okay. When I graduated in 2013, there were only two batches of my law school who had graduated before. Okay. Nobody knew where my law school was. Most people in Bangalore didn't know that my college had a law school program. Okay. That was the situation. I had worked with a firm called PXC, where my senior Bengal Khan was there. And I had been a paralegal for about 2 years there. And I had been extensively trained in corporate law, which is M&A, VC, all of those transactions. And I got posted in the Bombay office, and I thought I would be one of those corporate law people. But then what happened was quite interestingly. I was the junior most in the office, and we had some litigation that was going on, right? And I was also the only gentleman in the office. And the matters were in the labor court. And I hope it's been cleaned up by now, but back then the labor court in Bombay used to smell of pee. It used to be the very inhospitable place. So my senior just said, Ajay will have to handle it, we're not going there anymore. The disgusting thing, we lose a whole day, we can't do our corporate work. So I was like, okay, let's go to litigation. And see, like I said, right, beggars can't be choosers, right? Whatever work comes, you do it. So I went to the labor court that morning and I realized that, to my horror, because the board was being called out in Marathi, I had missed my matter. And the other side had come and taken a no written statement order. And I immediately panicked, thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to go back to office and I'm going to get fired. So, see, that is what I love about the Bombay bar. They are the single most supportive bar I have seen in my life. Two lawyers came up to me and said, listen, just mention the matter, file an application to revoke the no say. He will put it day after tomorrow for argument. And I said, okay, but I don't know how to draft that application. But that is where I feel that it is very important that everyone learns first principles, right? So, what do first principles tell you what an application is? An application is a request to the court supported by grounds. So, what do you have to do? You just have to mention the name of the matter, even if there's no particular format, listen, for most things in the labor court. You write what you want as a title, you write your grounds, you sign it. I did that. I mentioned the matter to the judge. The judge said, where is your application? First, I thought I would get yelled at for missing the matter. But I think the judge also understood that I was sitting in court and I really didn't understand what was happening. So I handed over my application to the judge, came back, and I was honest with my office. I didn't lie to them or anything. I told them the truth. So they called the board out in Marathi. I didn't understand what was happening, but then I spoke to some lawyers. They said, file this. At most, about 500 rupee cost will be imposed. So my boss at that time, very lovely gentleman, very supportive gentleman, Bengal, and my managing partner at that time, who I used to work with in the Bombay office, very supportive people. They said, let's troll him and make him argue it. And this is 1 week into practice, right? So I got thrown into the court and I argued it and I got that order revoked. And I got a high from the argument, right? Like a real high. And that's where I realized that, hey, I might actually be good at this, right? Even though this is not what I wanted to do through my life or how I trained with my life, I might actually be good at this. So I focused a lot of my energy at that point in time. I still do corporate work. I still used to do litigation simultaneously. My profile started developing as a litigator, even though I wasn't actively trying to work towards that. Because the firm I worked at dissolved at the end of that year. And some associates went and the partners went to Ketan. And some started their own new firm called Ashler. And what luckily happened then was my mother had just moved to Bombay. And my mother was working with the State Bank at that point of time, which meant that we got accommodation in South Bombay and I didn't have to pay rent, which allowed me to take a risk and join this firm as a counsel. And then I would get in my own clients, they would give their work to me, we would handle it well, and all of that. And that's when this all-rounder persona started developing, because when you're a young person trying to and hungry and trying to get clients and trying to build a name for yourself and all of that, right? Like this, like Mr. Branson says, right? Richard Branson, he says, when you need work, you just say yes and then you figure out how to do it later. And that's what made me an all-rounder. And I never thought it would be helpful because I've always seen specialists succeed, right? But what I realized is that at the end of the day, in the legal profession, even though you represent companies and conglomerates and institutions and all those people, right? The relationship is with another human being. And that other human being will trust a generalist with their problems because that generalist will be able to attack that problem from every direction. While there are, like, for example, I am specialized in litigation. Like construction arbitration, for example, is one of my specialties. Shareholder disputes is one of my specialties. White collar crime is one of my specialties, right? But that doesn't mean I can't run an M&A, PE, VC transaction. I remember when I was at NZM, we had a matter where a serious FIR had been filed against one of our clients, right? And to build the defense, right, I investigated the MCA records and I showed the numbers and I was able to tie the numbers together, read a balance sheet, and do things like that. Which, if I had, let's be honest, if I had dedicated myself to just being a litigator, I wouldn't have been able to do. But it came through at that point of time. And when I mean an all-rounder, right, when I say I'm an all-rounder, it doesn't mean I'm just an all-round lawyer. I'm an all-round personality. I have always been inspired by this creature that we call the Enlightenment Man, which is a person who is learned in everything, right? So when I'm doing a construction arbitration, for example, I'm able to now read enough to directly talk to the technical team and understand what went wrong. So there is a lot less that's lost in translation, especially with this new generation of things like artificial intelligence and things like that that are coming up, right? I found that my grounding in philosophy and math has really helped me understand AI companies and see what they're trying to do, understand their product. Because at the end of the day, you're representing a client. If you do not know your client inside out, you are not going to effectively be able to represent it. Unless you're like a senior advocate or a senior specialist, but they work because someone like me comes to them with the matter, right, and asks for their specialist advice. So as a generalist, what I feel has worked out for me is I am able to deliver at a level which I would not ordinarily be able to deliver. And that is because I'm able to have a perspective which I would ordinarily not be able to have. And because of that, I am able to translate real world issues into simplified legal propositions, and which has helped
Right.
me understand everything from a debenture structure to a PVC structure to land to family disputes to everything. Because if you have a big corporate fight, right, at the core of it, sometimes it's a family dispute. And you have to be aware of that. So you need to be able to say, guys, just mediate this. It'll make you both money. So
Wow. So, continue conversation. What's been the most challenging case or project you have worked on, and how did you navigate it?
okay. So look, I could give my big ticket work that I've done, right? Like massive $1 million construction arbitrations, really high value white collar crimes and all of that, right? But the most challenging case that I worked on is that time I had to defend a guy accused of illegally cutting a tree, okay, before the magistrate's court in Vile, right? I was thrown into it. Most of the things that were happening in Marathi and Marathi, I don't speak Hindi that well. There was a Herculean effort made by my teachers in class 10 to make me pass that paper in CBSE. They went to the temple. I didn't go to pray that I passed. That's how bad it was. But what I did enjoy about that, and what I really enjoyed about that, was the cross examination. There were four punch witnesses who had all come on the stand one by one and said that, we saw the tree cut, right? And we decided it was cut by this man because this is the man with the saw. And I had to cross examine the punch witnesses. And all I knew at that point of time is this is at the end of the day a criminal matter. I just have to create reasonable doubt. So, how did I go about creating reasonable doubt? I asked these people, how did the police take you to the property? One of them said by rickshaw, one of them said by bike, one of them said by car. Only actually two of them said by jeep, the police van. And that's when I was able to show the judge that listen, these punch witnesses haven't actually come. These are not really punch witnesses. And the judge was impressed. And then my senior did the final argument, where there was an interesting proposition on whether the prosecution was actually maintainable or not in light of the Preservation of Trees Act, which I did deep dive research on. And I got a man acquitted. And I love that. I said, the feeling of acquitting a man is fantastic, right? Having a man acquitted. Then there were some human rights activists, I won't drop the names here, who were being, charged with the CBI case. We did the quashing in the High Court. We got them interim protection, which I was very glad for. That was one. That was a high stress matter. And the reason it was a high stress matter for me is because it became high stress. It wasn't normally high stress. It became significantly high stress for me because I knew the people involved, right? So there's this line in the practice. I think it's in episode one, right, where Bobby Donald talks to Lindsay and says, "You think it's difficult defending the guilty by defending the innocent? It's terrifying, right?" So every time I was doing that, I felt like one mistake here and some innocent person's going to go to jail. Then the other interesting matter I had done, like I really enjoyed, like thoroughly doing, was a labor court dispute where you had this chap who would go every day to the bathroom and then come back and write an email to his boss saying that everyone in the bathroom is judging me and they're talking about me behind my back. He had sent over 80 emails like that. And then the fellow had gone and fallen asleep twice during training. So they fired him. And then he sued saying that he's being discriminated against. And this the company took very seriously because he had religious requirements. They made as many accommodations as they could. The company took it very seriously. You know what I enjoyed about it? I enjoyed reading his emails from the bathroom out loud in court. All 20 emails I read out loud in court. And obviously, we got cleared from the issue because, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. I know I shouldn't have enjoyed that. Like, good people don't enjoy things like that. But when you see people behaving crazy, right, you should call them out and have fun with it. Like, this is what I keep telling my juniors all the time, right? Like, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, right, this job can easily turn into a chore. And if it turns into a chore, you're not going to give your best advice to the client. So please make sure you have fun. And so that's why I said most interesting matters are matters where I've had most fun at. They're not involving complex issues of constitutional law, legal law. I mean, like that is run of the mill daily stuff. Yeah, like मैं क्या करूँ उसके साथ? Like every time it comes, I'll deal with it, right? But give me a googly, give me something interesting, give me something out of the box that I enjoy that I can get interested with. Yeah.
There are many more questions are there. So I'll request you ki
Okay, ठीक है.
stick answering to your questions and so that will be better to complete this conversation because I've got another meeting of my international meeting, so I have to go for.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
let's continue. You have another role as an AI innovator. So what inspired you to make a bot for Posh, SheSr POSHBot, and how has it made an impact, and what has been helped women out there?
Okay, so I'll be honest. So I like AI because I like math. And I've been coding since I was in school. I like building stuff. I initially didn't pay attention to AI for a bit because I was just like, this is some hype, right? But then I figured out, you can make this useful for certain kinds of, use cases, right? Like it genuinely is useful. So at that point of time, the assistance system had been launched by OpenAI. And I sat down one night and I read the API reference manual. And I was just like, wait, so if I can limit the knowledge base, right? And I can add two redundancy checks to redundancy check against the knowledge base, the level of accuracy of the information that gets popped out is really high, right? So I initially took all my old drafts, research memos, books that I had in soft copy, all of that, and built an assistant called Goo to help me do what I wanted to do. And it was really helping me at work, right? And then I'm like, okay, great. I'm also a show off, all right? Like that's part of my personality. So I'm like, hey, I learned something new. How do I show it off? And I was dealing with a posh matter at that point of time, and the complainant had come and she was telling me, asked her, why didn't you talk to HR, right? She said, I didn't know whether I should talk to a lawyer, and I really didn't want to talk to my HR about it till I was sure that there was something to talk about, because otherwise, she'd just tell me that you're being silly and send me away, and I'll be incredibly embarrassed. Right. So it occurred to me that, hey, wait a minute, what if she could ask a bot what the posh law was? Right? Whether she would be classified as a victim, whether the act amounted to sexual harassment, whether when you looked at the case law, what were her chances of success, etc., before she spoke to HR. Right? And I spoke to my friend Vibha Vasuki. She runs the SheSr Consulting LLP. And she was like, this is a great idea. Like, this will help so many people. And then I said, fair enough, but you're going to have to do the hard work. See, I'll do the coding. You have to create the knowledge set. So she created the knowledge set for us, for me actually. I put it into a program, and there was a bot. And our bot is of two types. One is for standard Posh cases, One is for UG cases, UGC cases where the POSH Act doesn't apply, right? The bot has got traction. Uh, I see it being used in social media by people saying that, hey, there's this bot. And what I like most is that I can see anonymized usage statistics, such as that I can see the kind of queries that are being run into the bot, but I can't see from where it's coming from or who it's saying because we protected that level. But this we do to check to see if the bot gives the accurate answer over a period of time, right? And I saw some of the queries that people were putting into the bot, and they were harrowing, right? The kind of things that were being done to them. And I'm just sitting here going, wait a second. So this person in distress is able to use a software I have built. And I was really kicked about that. And obviously, we're going to promote the bot more in the coming year. We're going to have improved versions of the bot. We may have more specific bots for workmen and gig workers and things like that, which is what I'm thinking of off the top of my head. At least they're in the pipeline this year. But this was something really fun for me, right? Because I love building things to help people and having a use case when I build things. And I like building for the sake of building. So that's the POSHBot story.
So, Ajay, as an author of a novel, do you think storytelling skills play a role in effective advocacy?
Yes, because you have to draft the entire story in the plate and you have to make the judge want to read it.
Okay. Can you share an instance where your philosophy background uniquely influenced your legal arguments or strategies?
So I use logic in every argument that I make. Logic is something that you can verify and test. There are ways to check your logic, especially if you move to symbolic logic. So you can reduce complex problems to simplified propositions, and then you can run them through a logical system to see whether the conclusion follows the premise. And it's useful when you have to draft anything, grounds, contracts, whatever. So that's how it works.
Wow. So, Ajay, legal tech is transforming the industry. Where do you see AI and tech playing a role in the future of law, and where do you see yourself playing a role?
So look, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little scared about AI coming into law because law is about accountability and responsibility and ethics. You can't put an AI up for ethics, right? So at the end of the day, AI is a tool that people can use. But my problem with it is not that, AI will automatically do workflows and all of that, because I know that's not going to happen. Because lawyers at the end of the day are going to put their foot down and say, listen, before the draft goes to the client, I'm going to read this, right? My problem is with the next generation who will never actually have to do the hard work. And if they don't do the hard work, they're not going to learn. And if they don't learn, 10 years from now, you're going to have partners at law firms who don't know how to do things from scratch, right? How do I see myself in this AI future? I'm a hacker at the end of the day, okay? I don't do this as a professional thing. I really don't. I build things for fun, right? I build AI tools for me, not for others. About 60% of actually 80% of the stuff I made is not public, right? I don't see myself in this AI revolution at all because there is not a revolution. It is a computer program that can guess the fourth word in a tokenized format. And that kind of computer program doesn't make sense, as in it's not a professional, you can't do anything with it.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to the next round and understand Ajay as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years, Ajay.
So I grew up in Bhubaneswar, Hyderabad, Madras. Then I moved to Bangalore for university. Both my parents were in the bank. My father lost his job in 1997 because he was terminated because of the Harshad Mehta scam. He was involved in the Harshad Mehta scam. His prosecution abated the year I joined the bar because he died before that. After that, he was a visiting faculty at Xavier's in Bhubaneswar, and he would do consultancy work. My mother was a senior banker. She retired as DGM State Bank of India. So yeah, those were my formative years. Look, I went to school like everyone else. I didn't like my classmates like most people did. I made some very good friends. So there were no real formative experiences for me. Okay, so because I've always been like this, I've been a very like issue oriented person. So there's not much there.
So let's go to your college days, School of Law, Christ University. How did it impact you for your legal career?
Well, okay. So I became very good at briefing because of the way I studied in Christ. So I initially used to focus and try and get a lot of marks and things like that, right? But then I kind of realized that, I just have to put 20% of the effort to get 55% in the marks. So that's when I just gave up one morning and stopped studying. So what I would do was I would read what law I wanted to read, uh, learn about what I wanted to learn about, use the opportunities provided to debate, travel the country, do moves, travel internationally, do all of those interesting things that I wanted to do. And the day of the assignment, do something overnight, send it over. See, my 20% effort would get high results. I don't know how that is with other people, but I didn't have to put in the work. But then there used to be this wonderful chap called Gari Veera Reddy, who wrote this series called Sujata Law Series for the Osmania University syllabus, which was in pari materia with the Christ University syllabus. And each subject had about a 150 to 200 page book. So before the exams, I would buy Sujata Law Series, and before a particular paper, spend the night reading it twice, write what I remembered, and pass. So that was law school for me, right?
Wow. So, Ajay, is there any hidden talent or hobby you are passionate about that not many people know?
No. So I'm a bit of an open book. I don't do things in stealth or forward mode. I just don't. Right? So every hobby that I have, every talent that I have is just out there. So I don't see the point in having it hidden. I don't see the I released an album, I'm a musician on some level. I'm a comedy musician. I released a comedy album. I wrote a work of fiction. I'm a trained philosopher. I have a master's in that. I have a bunch of other hobbies. Like I'm a tech guy. I build speakers. I build AI. I'm trying to build my own laptop right now.
So, Ajay, what inspired you to do MA in philosophy?
I wanted to make friends who weren't lawyers. And I had gone down to the University of Bombay, where the admissions counter was open, and they said MA weekend batch. So I'd actually gone to meet a faculty to draw up a will. And when I went and met the weekend batch course, they said, listen, you sign up for the form here, you take this bunch of papers, go to the Xerox office, that is your study material, Xerox it and come back. I sat for a week, read one day before the exam, cleared the paper, entered into the MA program, and I loved it. It was great. I truly loved it. And because it was challenging, finally something challenging. I met people from all walks of life. The youngest person in my class was 21, the oldest person was 93, and he died halfway through. So, different people from different economic circumstances, different cultural contexts, different how they work, and all of that. And that's what I wanted, right? Like, I was bored having only lawyer friends because all lawyers do is talk about law. And that is really boring.
Okay. So, Ajay, who are your biggest inspirations in life and for work also?
Life, uh, in life, my biggest inspiration will be Winston Churchill, because he did his duty when he had to do it, no matter how much people hated him. In terms of work ethic, it will be Field Marshal Claude Auchinleck, who was the last commander in chief of the British Army in India. He was a thorough professional. He disapproved of the fact that his grand army was being separated like this during partition. He disapproved of the fact that the British had hastily withdrawn from India without settling a lot of problems that led to violence. So when he became field marshal, he refused the peerage. He refused to take his seat in the House of Lords. And that to me showed a high level of work ethic.
So, Ajay, what's your favorite way to unwind after a hectic day in court or at office?
I watch YouTube. I come home and I watch YouTube a lot. I watch Star Trek. I like Star Trek. Uh, I like watching science fiction shows. I listen to a lot of classical music. I listen to a lot of tapang, which is like a Tamil style music. I love it. It's got a good beat. I I like hanging out with my friends, uh, talking nonsense with them. Yeah, so I have this friend of mine. He and I we pitch random startups to each other. They will never exist, but we enjoy doing that because it's fun. Uh, I might I want to build a boat one day, so I do a lot of research and design and development on that boat. Yeah,
So for 2025, what do you want to do professionally and personally, which would impact?
in fact, what?
Like bucket list, what if you made any bucket list for 2025 for your personal life and for professional life, which you like to complete in this 11 months?
Look, I'll be honest. I don't have a bucket list. I don't believe in these bucket lists and things like that. Life is organic. You are only where you are at a current space, right? I don't know where I will be tomorrow. I don't know where I will be day after. I don't know if I will live through 2025. I don't know if World War III will start. I don't know, what is going to happen. There could be a natural. Anyway, so my bucket list on a daily basis starts from the morning. Every morning I wake up and I say, today, with all the work that I have and all the other additional pressures that I have, I will do this one thing. And I work my day to do that one thing and fit it into the day. It could be something random like watching the new Star Trek movie, right? It could be like I want to listen to Taylor Swift's new album peacefully, right? It could be that I want to go eat at a particular restaurant because there's this new kind of food. Uh, it could be also that I want to learn something. Like by the end of the day, I want to figure out how to do this kind of script on the coding front. So yeah, so look, this bucket list does not make sense to me. Yeah. As in, I don't even understand people who have these bucket lists. Because if you can put your life down to a list, are you really living life?
Okay. It's everyone has their own things, whatever, for bucket list, wish list, for productivity tools. So let's continue the conversation. My last one. Describe Ajay in one line.
Troublemaker. That's who I am. That's who I've been. Earlier in school and all, I used to make trouble for my parents. Now I make trouble on behalf of people who need other people to make trouble for them against the people who are making trouble for them. But I'm a troublemaker. I've always been a controversial person. I've always had my own opinions, free speaking, free thinking, candid. So one word I would use is troublemaker. That's who I am.
So let's go and have some fun, the rapid fire round. Uh, One food you could eat every day and not get bored.
Egg puff.
Your favorite travel destination for a quick getaway.
Actually, I do a lot of staycations. So in Bangalore, it's Windsor Manor. I go there for about 2 days. In Bombay, it used to be the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel.
Wow. Your favorite color.
Black.
Tea or coffee during late night case preparation.
Red Bull.
Okay, let's raise toast. So you did well, Ajay, and here's your gift.
Thanks, bro.
So, friends, it was a lovely conversation having with Ajay, wearing multiple hats, a lawyer, a philosopher, a writer, then AI innovator. So this is what inspires our coffee corner speakers. Yeah, being in a profession, you can have your passion to live by, and this is what the conversation our coffee speakers bring for inspiring journey stories. If you want to be featured, visit our website, the Emerging India Forum, or social media handles. We would invite you and subscribe to our channel, which has over 300 plus episodes. So we meet with another coffee speaker. Thank you.